Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be able to find the inverse of a quadratic function. So here I've laid out the steps for finding the inverse in general, and we're going to apply them specifically to quadratic functions in today's video. First, we're going to start with A, where we don't have a b value other than 0, but we'll also try B as well, where we do have a b value. Okay, so starting with A, the first thing we need to do is swap y equals f of x. So my first line is going to be y equals x squared plus 4. So that's step 1. Step 2 is for finding the inverse. We need to swap x and y. So for inverse, we have x is equal to y squared plus 4, right? Because all I did is I switched x and y from the previous step. Step 3 is to solve for new y. So I need to isolate new y. So I will start by subtracting 4 from both sides to get x minus 4 is equal to y squared. Then I will take the square root of both sides to get that y is equal to plus or minus the square root of x minus 4. So there we go. We've now isolated. So last step is to sub y equals the inverse of x if the inverse is a function. Now, if we were to restrict the domain to either just the positive version of this or the negative version of this, then it would be a function, right? That's called the square root function. However, just as it stands here, the plus or minus the square root of x minus 4 is not a function, and so I am not going to switch this. Now, if we are asked in certain examples to restrict the domain to only certain values, then that's different. That's fine. However, we weren't in this case, and so I'm just going to say no. This is not a function, because essentially what happened is we took a parabola that opened up, and now it's going to be opening sideways, and so therefore there's going to be several places. In fact, almost all the places on the domain, everywhere except the vertex, essentially, we're going to end up failing the vertical line test when we switch the parabola to being opening sideways rather than opening up. All right, so that's that one. Let's try g of x. And actually, something I should mention about that is whenever we have any sort of parabola that opens up or down, all of those are always going to be functions. However, whenever we have one that's opening to the left or to the right, neither of those will ever be functions. Again, unless we restricted the domain originally in the original question. Okay. So let's try this one here. So step 1 is to plug in y for g of x. So y is equal to 2x squared plus 3x minus 5. Now I'm going to switch x and y. So x is equal to, actually I should put 4 inverse. X is equal to 2y squared plus 3y minus 5. And now we need to solve for y. So since we do have a b value, I think probably the easiest way for us to solve for y in terms of x is to use the quadratic formula. Now, to use the quadratic formula, we need to have every single value on one side. We need 0 on the left and everything else on the right. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides to give us that 0 is equal to 2y squared plus 3y minus x minus 5. And so in this situation, when we solve for y, we get that a is equal to 2, because 2 is our leading coefficient. B is equal to 3, since that's our coefficient for y, which is what we're solving for in this case. And then our constant term, c, is going to be negative x minus 5. Now, because keep in mind here, we're solving for y, and so we're just treating x as we're not treating x as what we're solving for in this case. We're just treating x as part of our constant, a part that we don't know what it is. Okay. So now we are going to apply the quadratic formula. So y is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. Let's go up here. That is equal to y is equal to negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative x minus 5. Let's make that a bit bigger. All over 2a, or 2 times 2. So therefore, y is equal to negative 3 plus or minus, well, let's see what's going to be in here. We're going to get 9 minus 8 times negative x minus 5, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. So therefore, y is equal to negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 8x plus 40, all over 4, meaning y is equal to negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 8x plus 49, all over 4. And that is the best that we can do.